בבחורות בסדר רבי צדוק צרי, and it was another conflict with the firstborn, the incidents involved with the question of Rabbi Tzadok. We also afflicting Rabbi Yeshua such a great sorrow. So now again we're afflicting him pain, and so it's not, let's not remove from the position as the seer Rabban Gamliel. It's too much sorrow it caused Rabbi Yeshua. So it was so agreed that the question arose, who shall we establish in his place? Nokmel Rabbi Yeshua, shall we establish Rabbi Yeshua in his place? Baal Maaseu, the sages rejected the opinion because Rabbi Yeshua was party of that incident. Dilma Anishlei Delet Zchut Avot. So for which Rabban Gamliel was deposed, appointing him was extremely upsetting Rabban Gamliel. Shall we establish Rabbi Akiva in his place? But the sages rejected because Rabbi Akiva, with descendants of family of people who convert, so it will be vulnerable. Why? Because Rabban Gamliel resentment will be the cause him to be divinely punished because the lack of merit of his ancestors to protect him. אלא נוקמה לרבי אלעזר בן עזריה, דו חכם והוא עשיר והוא עשירי לעזרה. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah has several things. He's a scholar, he's wealthy, and he is a descendants, 10th generation descendants of the great Ezra, the great scribe. הוא חכם די מקשה מפרק לה, he is a scholar because any question he resolved. והוא עשיר די לפלוך לבי כסר, אף הוא אזיל ופלח. He is also rich because he need the rises to pay homage to the Caesar court and serve as a representation of Israel to lobby and negotiate. He was sufficient wealth to cover the costs of long journey, taxes and gifts. So he's able to pay homage. והוא עשירי לעזרה, לזכות אבות ולא מהטען שלו. He's a 10th generation of Israel, so he has the merit of his ancestors, cannot be punished. עתר ואמרו לי. So they went to Rabban Gamliel and told him. So they went to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, and they said, can you be in the head of the yeshiva? Amar lehu, he said to them, Eizil ve'malech be'anshe beiti, let me go and consult with my household, right, wife, etc. Alach ve'azar ve'imlich bedevitu, he went and consulted with his wife. Amra le, his wife said to him, Dilma me'abrin lach. So there is a room for concern. אמר לה להשתמש עינך יום אחד בקסה דמוקרא ולמחר לתבע. Perhaps they will remove you from the office just as they remove Rabban Gamliel. So it's like was a famous folk saying, let us the person use an expensive goblet one day and let it breaks tomorrow. So אמרה לה let לך חיוורתה. So she said to him, you have no white hair, which means that it's inappropriate for you to so young to be the head of the sages. So she said in a Passover Agadah that they make Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah as a Nasi, and his Kevin, he looked like 70. So it's like a miracle that that day he was 18 years old, and a miracle transpired from him, and 18 rows of hair turn white, which means that it's not the 18, that it's just that it suddenly turned white hair, like an elderly, respected person. That's exactly what he said in the Mishnah. We said in Pesach V'Agdah, I look like 8 years old, v'lo ben 70 shana. That I'm not really 70 years old, he was only 18. So now we continue to discuss tomorrow, the page 28, what happened that day. Just conclude with halacha. Tfilat Arvit, the evening prayer. So you want to know if it's optional or it's obligation. So the Tur or Achaim in 235 said it, and also the Rambam said it in the Ilchot Tefillah, the very beginning, first chapter. He said the evening prayer is optional as per opinion of Rabbi Yoshua in his dispute with Rabban Gamliel, and the option of Rava in dispute of Abaye. This is accordance with the accepted halachic principle. Although it's optional, there is still a mitzvah to recite the prayer, and it should not be missed. The Rif writes that now that all Israel has accepted upon themselves to recite the evening prayer, it has become obligatory like the morning and afternoon prayers. So originally speaking, it was a notion to make it optional, but since the Rif hold that we accepted as upon Israel, that everyone accepted as a part of the daily decorum, is equal to other prayer, which means evening, morning, and afternoon, they're all equal important in that sense and obligatory in our days, and we follow the Rif in that sense that all the three prayers are equally important to have. So today we are in the Berachot 28. We continue a beautiful story about Rabban Gamliel and Rabbi Yoshua. We have first to understand the dynamics. We're not talking in our simple language that there are two people disagree. We're talking about great giant scholars that they have a different opinion in halacha. But anyway, we try to explain it in a simple way, which is a situation that Rabban Gamliel was asked about evening prayer. Rabbi Yoshua said it's optional. Rabban Gamliel hold that it's obligatory. And then they brought this question publicly, and Rabban Gamliel asked Rabbi Yoshua to admit it, and he stand up, and he asked him to stand up all day, and people could not tolerate that, and they made a decision to remove Rabban Gamliel from his authority as the Nasi, as the head of the yeshiva, and to appointed Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah, who was young, only 18. They make him look 70, and things change. All the rules change at that day that Rabban Gamliel was removed, and they said as follows. We are 28 Berachot. Tana, Oto Hayom, that day that they removed Rabban Gamliel, it wasn't just that. Silkuhu leshomer hapetach. The day that Rabban Gamliel huavar from his traditional important royal job as the Nasi, as the head of the community, they put instead of him the Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah. They also remove the guard at the entrance of the Beit HaMidrash, which means up to that point it was a very strict rule who allowed to enter and who not. וניתנה להם רשות לתלמידים להיכנס. They grant a special permission to all who wants to come and study to enter the Beit HaMidrash. שהיה רבן גמליאל מכריז ואומר, רבן גמליאל proclaimed and said earlier, כל תלמיד שאין תוכו כברו, which means someone who's like two faces, or someone who's not reaching in his qualification, לא ייכנס לבית המדרש, will not enter to the house, the study hall. So in a sense, it was like so many restrictions that people relatively very few reached the qualification of Rabban Gamliel were able to come and enter the house of study and learn. So יומי התאספו כמה ספסלי. So that day there are many benches and chairs were added to the Beit HaMidrash because of the new policy. So now it's a different opinion. אמר רבי יוחנן פליגי בר רבי יוסף בן דוסטאי ורבנן. It's a different opinion how many people, how many students they granted that day. One opinion, אחד אמר התאספו 400 ספסלי. ואחד אמר 700 ספסלי. One said that they granted another 400 students, another one said 700 students enter when they heard that rule changed. הווה כחל שדעתי רבן גמליאל. So since this development, Rabban Gamliel was really disappointed. He was like dispirited. אמר דילמה חס ושלום מנעתי תורה מישראל. He said, like Rashi said, that I will be punished for that. It's like I was the one who withheld the Torah from Israel. Achavu lei bechelmei chitzbei chivare. So he saw in his dream chitzbei chamrei. He showed a dream white peaches, the malyan katma, that the field with ashes. So the Rashi said, klomar af elu enam reuyim. So Rashi used the word klomar, and I highly recommend you to read my book, Birei Klomar Berashi al Hashas. It's a 2 volumes from Berachot to the end of Kiddushin. So here I try to elaborate what Rashi meant when he used the word klomar. Basically, it appeared that his question, what's the connection between the dream and what he exactly meant, because he was upset. So now we see a dream, and this dream they show him this type of a white pitchers full of ash. So Rashi said Af elu enam royim. It means that even those people are not really just as the pictures are beautifully white on the outside, yet the inside they contain worthless ash. So it's like those Talmidim, those students, but it's not really truly deserved. That's the Maharsha said. Well, veloi. But the Gemarah comments that's not the case, which means that's not a real heavenly sign. The reason that they show it, it's because they want to calm him down. The Gemarah said in Chulin, in 133, that whoever teaches an unworthy student is thrown his student to a margulit. Margulit is like a idol. So that was his opinion. But Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah, on the other hand, he has a strong feeling that only if the student is really known as being unworthy, but if not, then they should accept it. And that's what many said. The Rambam said it, and many others. That, if someone come in and wants to learn, you put an assumption that he is have a sincere intention to learn and he has a good character. Tana, Eduyot bo bayom nishnet. The Tractate Deut we just mentioned in the previous lesson was taught that so, and any place where is the expression on that day, it's used. Remember that we said that earlier that the fifth Eduyot, or the Mishnah of the fourth chapter of Yadayim, Ahu Yoma Hava ולא הייתה הלכה שהייתה תלויה בבית המדרש שלא פירשוה. So that day, Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah was installed as a Nasi. So it was each and every halacha that was clear and nothing left, unclear and ambiguous. Everything was lucid and clear and resolved. ואף רבן גמליאל, and even a great sage like רבן גמליאל, לא מנע עצמו מבית המדרש אפילו שעה אחת. He would not withhold himself even 1 hour, not losing those special moments of learning, even with this circumstance. So that's the Ein Yaakov explained. Detnan. So we learn in that Mishnah in Yadayim. בו ביום בא יהודה גר עמוני לפניהם בבית המדרש. אמר להם אנא לבוא בקהל. It was a fellow that was a ger amoni, that was a convert for Ammoni. And you remember that we said that about truth, that it's Ammoni and לא Ammonit itself. So they ask a question. אמר לו רבן גמליאל, אסור אתה לבוא בקהל. רבן גמליאל אמר, רבן גמליאל said, you cannot become part of our faith, since the Torah said that the Ammoni should not be accepted, said in Deuteronomy, among us for eternity. אמר לו רבי יהושע responded, and he said, no, you are wrong, he is permitted to enter the congregation. אמר לו רבן גמליאל, ולא כבר נאמר, לא יבוא עמוני ומואבי בקהל השם. So Rabbi Gamliel said to him, but it's written clearly that Ammonite and Moabite should not enter the congregation of God. אמר לו רבי יהושע, וכי עמון ומואב במקומם הם יושבים? Does the descendants of Ammon and Moab still reside in those places? כבר הלך הסנחריב מלך אשור בלבל כל האומות. The evil Sancheriv, the king of Ashur, came up, and upon the destruction of the temple, he exiled all the nation, and they settled in different locations, so it's all mixed up. שנאמר, ואסיר גבולות עמים, ועתודיהם שושתי, ואוריד כביר יושבים, that's Isaiah 10, which means that Sancheriv said, I have removed the boundaries of people, I have planned and trusted, and I dwell in all the strangleholders, so which means that the nation world became so integrated, even if someone comes from the land of Ammon, he must assume that he's not part of that descendant. וכל דפריש מרובה דר פריש. So we go by the majority. So the majority are not Ammonite, you don't have Ammonite. אמר לו רבן גמליאל, אבל לא כבר נאמר, it's written in the book of Amos, they said, ואחרי כן, but afterward, אשיב את שבות בני עמון נאום השם. He said that afterward I return the capacity of children of Ammon, this is the word of Hashem, וכבר שבו, and they already returned. So it basically tried to say that the prophecy is fulfilled and therefore they are here. אמר לו רבי יהושע, אז רבי יהושע responded and says, wait a second, ולא כבר נאמר ושבתי את שבות עמי ישראל ועדיין לא שבו. I give you another posuk. They said that ושבתי את שבות עמי ישראל. No, the previous posuk, I'm sorry, the previous posuk is in Jeremiah. Jeremiah said that they returned all the nation of Ammon in 49 and it didn't happen. Now he brought him the posuk in Amos that said that I returned my people Israel, and you see that nevertheless they're not yet returned. So it means that you tell me that it's fulfilled prophecy, it's not fulfilled yet. So Mishnah concludes, now because Rabban Gamliel is no longer the president, he is not the Nasi anymore, what happened? This guy Yehuda, who came from the Ammonite descendants, because of these disputes and because of Yoshua allow, so they allow him to enter the congregation even, it was an issue that Torah forbids for eternity for the Ammonite. So the majority of the churches agree with what Rabbi Yeshua said. אמר רבן גמליאל, הואיל ואח אהבה, אייזל ופייסל רבי יהושע. Now Rabban Gamliel was full of contrition, he was full of remorse. So he realized that since this case that they follow Rabbi Yeshua and he's no longer the president, so it's my call to go now that the majority of the Sanhedrin decide that they're in favor of Rabbi Yeshua and they go by him. It means that he carry a serious weight, and he is in the sense that they said that they like they said about David that Hashem, the word of God is with him, so that the halacha always go by those that they follow the majority. So Rabban Gamliel realized that that he insulted Rabbi Yeshua, asking him to stand all that, and he created so much sorrow, asking him to come on Yom Kippur, and all these things. So he wants to appease him. Kimata leveitei. So he walked and he went to Rabbi Yeshua's house. Chazinu le'ashiata deveita de mishachran. He saw the walls of his house were dark or black. For sure, we're not going here by the Maharal, we just go by the Rashi. Maharal go in the mystical, esoteric meaning, but in a simple way. So he saw that it's like Rashi said, that it was a charcoal maker, which like pecham. So אמר לו, מכותלי ביתך, אתה ניכר שפחמי אתה. From the walls of your house, it's apparent that you are a smith, right? So he said, אמר לו, אוי לו לדור שאתה פרנסו. Rabbi Yeshua said to him, wow unto the generation, they have leaders like you. שאי אתה יודע בצד נרם של תלמידי חכמים, כמה במה מתפרנסים ובמה נזונים. That you are so much, there are people who sometimes in a position of leadership, they are so much involved with leadership, they do not realize what happened to lay people. That he said that people are really, they have no idea that how they nourish, as they suppose themselves, what they have in a life, etc. The whole idea of the other people's need. אמר לו, רבן גמליאל responded, said, נעניתי לך מחול לי. I'm sorry, I'm full of remorse, I'm regret the way that I was so much against you, please forgive me. לא אשגח בי, Rabbi Yeshua paid him no heed. So he said to him, עשה בשביל כבוד אבא. So Rabban Gamliel pleaded and he said, don't do it for me, do it for my father. That it was Hillel. Rav Nissim Gaon said that Rabban Gamliel was a descendant of Hillel, so he asked him for his merit. Or they are said that it was one of the 10 martyrs was his father, one of the 10 martyrs, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, so that's was Rabban Gamliel's father. So he said, because of my father merit, that he was executed by the Roman government. That's the Vilna Gaon opinion. So when Rabbi Shua heard that, he asked not for himself, he asked for his either descendants or his father, pious, so he appeased, forgave him. Amru, man nezel v'nem alud rabanan. Now, who will go and inform the rabbis of this change, of this development in a relationship? Amar lehu ha'u kovetz. It was a guy who was a laundryman. He said, Ana azelna, I'll go. שלח לו רבי יהושע לבית מדרש. Rabbi Yehoshua sent the following message to him, to the sages in the Beit HaMidrash. Man דלביש מדה ילבש מדה, או man דלא לביש מדה יאמר כלמן דלביש מדה שלח מדך ואנה אלבשי. It's like a allegory. He said, one who accustomed to wear a robe, continue to wear a robe. One not is not. And remove your robe and I will don it. So it's like he wants to say that it's like imply that the robe of the president of the Nazi should be returned to that position. That's what he meant, because in a sense he forgave him. Amar lo Rabbi Akiva leRabanan. Rabbi Akiva said to the sages, Troku gale doleleitu avdei derabban Gamliel utzaru derabanan. Lock the door of the study wall, so that the servant of Rabban Gamliel do not come to harass the rabbis. Right? That even they understand clearly what Rabbi Yehoshua tried to do now, to show reconciliation and peace, they don't want to rescind that. They don't want to make it happen. So and they said, we don't want those servants of Rabban Gamliel to start bothering people and arresting them. Amar Rabbi Yehoshua, if that's the case, Rabbi Yehoshua said, Mutav de'eikum ve'ezel ana legabayu. So I have personally go to them and talk peace to them. Ataf taraf ababa. He came and knocked on the door of Beit Midrash. They closed the doors, they don't want the servant from Rabban Gamliel to bother them. Amar lu maze ben maze yaze. It's like, again, allegory. The one who sprinkled, like you have in the Red Heifer, the Kohen has sprinkled, son of sprinkler, sprinkle, which means, v'sheno lo mazeh v'lo ben mazeh, omar le mazeh ben mazeh. That it's like wants to say that I'm one of you guys, okay? Meimecha meimei me'ara. Your water is a cave water, okay? So Rashi here, by the way, said twice the word kelomar. And again, I don't have the time for that, but please read in my book explanation why he used that word here. So he said, Memecha meme'ara, your water is a cave water, ve'efrecha efer makle, and your ashes are cindered, okay, which means ashes from burned wood, right? One would become tameh from human corpse can only become tahor against the being sprinkled with the solution of sprinkled water and the ashes of paraduma. So he used of any other water or ashes in compounding the solution, render the solution worthless. So he wants to express it like an allegory. Amar lo Rabbi Akiva said to him, Rabbi Yehoshua nitpayasta? Rabbi Yehoshua, you are appeased? Klum asinu אלא בשביל כבודך? Do you think that we remove him from this job as a office of the president just because of you any other reason than you honor? למחר אני ואתה נשכים לפתחו. Tomorrow you and I will rise to Rabban Gamliel door. That we reinstatement. All right. Amar Achenavid, since Rabban Gamliel apologized and he's sorry, so they want to show compassion. They want to sue that they start from the beginning. So they said, how shall we do this? Na'avdei Gemarah ma'alim b'kodesh ve'en moridin. So should we remove Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah completely from his office? We basically cannot do that. Gemarah ma'alim b'kodesh ve'en moridin. Since we appointed him as what? As the president, right? And he is the head of the yeshiva. So now, what are you going to what are you going to use? Instead, you lower him. It's like, in a sense, you insulted him. Nidrosh marchat shabta. You know what? We're going to split it, so the Rosh Yeshiva will alternate. Ate lekanyue. So it will lead just to unnecessary jealousy. Ela lidrosh Rabban Gamliel tlashat shabta. Rabbi Elazar chadashat shabta. So how they compromise? Since Rabban Gamliel was a Nasi, he should involve with lecture 3 weeks and 1 week. So Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. So in a sense, so they compromise in that way. V'hainu damarmar Shabbat shel mi hayita. To which week was it? Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. That was a week that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was in Shar. V'oto talmid, that students, the question that they sparked the entire incident was who's no one else but Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. So there's several ideas why it's Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai that either because it was more the Kabbalistic one, or because it was a lot of ambiguity and he was the one who more familiar. So the Mishnah said, V'shel musafin kol hayom, we can recite the Musaf the entire day. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, V'nikra poshea, which means he's negligent. You have a time frame, you should follow the time. What is that business that you come late and you depend on it, that exception? So if you are past the 7 hours, it's not the proper time. It's like negligent. תנו רבנן, היו לפניו שתי תפילות, אחת של מנחה ואחת של מוסף, ולפעמים של מנחה ואחר כך משתמש מוסף, שזו תדירה וזו אינה תדירה. Simple, we said it earlier, frequent, non-frequent, mincha and musaf. You go by frequent, more frequent is mincha, you have it every day, so that's first. רבי יהודה אומר מתפלל של מוסף, ואחר כך מתפלל של מנחה, which means first you do the musaf, and then mincha, the same idea as we said earlier, שזו מצווה עוברת וזו מצווה אינה עוברת, because the musaf have a certain time, you pass the time. Rashi here elaborate on that, and he said that you can go either way. Either you go that the musaf you elapse the early time, so it's already late, and that musaf may pray until the 7 hours, so you delay. And אמר רבי יוחנן הלכה מתפלל של מנחה ואחר כך מתפלל של מוסף. רבי יוחנן rule that first he'll do mincha and then musaf. So Shulchan Aruch Or HaChaim Reish Pevav 266 said כדברי הגמרא נפסק כי זמן תפולת מוסף הוא לכתחילה עד 7 שעות ביום. So the proper way is to do it in 7 hours, but whoever delay והמאחר נקרא פושע, one who's doing it late is a negligent. But anyway, according to the sages, he can continue still study because it's not me'akev. It's a mitzvah, but it's not me'akev. Relate incidents. Rabbi Zera ke'ava chalish migirsel. Rabbi Zera was weak from his study. Hava azil ve'atila pitcha de Rabbi Natan Bartovi. He passed to this great rabbi. Amar ki chalfi Rabbanan, when the student of the rabbinical school passed by, as ekum mekamahu v'akabel agra. So I rise and I receive a reward. That it's like receive a reward because they said v'adarta pnei zaken, you shall glorify the presence of elders. So the Torah scholar arise before them. Nafak hata Rabbi Natan Bartovi, great rabbi, passed by. Amar li, man amar lacha midrasha? Who is this study hall that said that that law according to Rabbi Yehuda? Amar li, hach amar Rabbi Yochanan, en halacha ke Rabbi Yehuda. So he said that halacha, the Tzlach here elaborated that, but said that halacha not according to Rabbi Yehuda. Amar mitpalel shel musaf v'achar kach mitpalel mincha. That first is musaf and then mincha if it's too late. So he doesn't hold that way because if it's a time for mincha, you should do mincha first. That's Amar li Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said it to him. Amar li in. It's really true that he said it. Tana ad minei 40 zimnin. 40 times he reviewed and everything that he taught. Usually in Talmudic times, it's not always the numbers, it's just that they want to emphasize. They use sometimes guzman lishna, like a language of exaggeration, but the idea is that he repeats it many times and you remember vividly. Amar le chada hi ilach or chadat hilach. Is this statement Rabbi Yochanan said it for, you heard it for his name, or it's a new to you that someone else said it? Amar le chadati li. Rabbi Zera responded, he said, no, it's new to me. Mishum demsabak le Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi. I'm not sure if Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi said it or not. That's what Rashi here explained. Savur הייתי שרבי יהושע ben Levi amara. He wasn't sure who said it. אמר רבי יהושע ben Levi. כל המתפלל תפילה של מוספים לאחר 7 שעות לרבי יהודה, עליו הכתוב אומר, נוגי ממועד אספתי ממך היו. Whoever passed that time of 7 hours, the way that we said Rabbi Yehuda, he used the word from Tzefania, that said, Nugei, מה ישמע דהי נוגי לשנת תעברו? He says, broken, Nugei, because of the appointed time. I have destroyed their formula. What does that mean? That is Nugei, term breaking. מתרגם רב יוסף, תברא אתי על סנאו דבל ישראל, על דאחו זמנם עוד בירושלים. They use the lotion סגנה or the opposite way. They mean to say that it's like breakage come upon those, he used the word enemy, but he meant the opposite way, that those who basically is euphemism for the Jewish people that they delayed the proper time that they should pray in Jerusalem, especially in Musaf. That's what Tosefta said here. He said, "Sharen lהם תשלומים עליהם כן בתפילה משתה יקרא." This is no repayment. אמר רבי אלעזר, כל המתפלל תפילה של שחרית לאחר 4 שעות לרבי יהודה. Now is talking about people that for all kind of reasons they passing the time and they daven later. So they want to discourage us. They said anyone who prays shacharit prayer after 4 hours, עליו הכתוב אומר, that's the quotation, נוגי ממועד אספתי מה חיו. מה עם משמע דהיינו נוגי ראשון לצערו? He used the word נוגי, that is affliction. דכתיב דלפה נפשי מתוגה, this is from Psalms 119. It said, my soul melts with affliction, which means תוגה, נוגי, it's very close. רב נחמן בר יצחק אמר מאחה, בתולותיה נוגות ואימר לה. They said in the book of איכה, in Lamentation, that her maiden are afflicted, nugot, and she is embittered. So that's applied to those who delayed it. Rav Avia חלש ולא עטה לפירקה לרב יוסף. Rav Avia felt ill and he didn't come to the Torah study of Rav Yosef. Rashi explained שהיה ראש הישיבה בפומבדידה, he was the head of the yeshiva in פומבדידה, והיה דורש בשבת קודם תלת המוספים. He has a speech, a rabbi speech like you rabbis does here before מוסף. ולאחר דרשה היו הולכים לבית הכנסת ומתפנים תפילת מוספים. After the speech, most probably it was a different location, they returned to the shul and they did musaf, the additional prayer. למחרת כעת, the next day came, בא אביי להנוחה דעתי רב יוסף. אביי wished to calm down the mind of Yosef. Abaye was a person of a lot of misfortunate, but he was well respected. He was orphan at a young age, etc. So he tried to appease the concern of that Rav Yosef feel bad that Avia did not attend his shiur, his lecture. אמר לי, מה התאמה לו את אמר לפירקה? Why you didn't show up? אמר לך, דבר חליש ליבה, אבל לא מצינה. Because I felt hunger and I was unable. Alright? Is that pretext or for real? אמר לי, אמר לו טעם תמידי ועתיד. You go and taste food and come back and listen to the lecture. אמר לי, לא סביר למה לעד רבונה דמה רבונה, אסור לאדם שאיתם כלום קודם תפילת המוספים. רבונה hold that the person should not taste any food before he daven musaf. So sometimes people ask, what are you expecting people to eat? If you start davening at 7 or 8 o'clock and you're done with davening at 10:30, it's fine. But if you start davening at 9 o'clock, or like some of the Hasidim, 9:30 or 10 after the mikveh and everything else, and you don't taste the food, you're done with 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock in noontime, make no sense. So basically the Shulchan Aruch, I just give you the abbreviation, they say that coffee you can do before davening, water, coffee. But it's basically to eat mamesh is the issue of lo tochlu al adam, you should not eat on your blood. It's a little issue of eating. Some said it's just taste of something. But amar lei, it all depends what the schedule that day. But in general, it's better not to eat, only to drink. Amar lei, ba'ile lemar letzayul slot musafin biyachid v'litomide v'lemeite. You should daven in an individual, and then you should eat something and come to the shiur. It's very important to study Torah. What is that type of excuses that you disappear, you didn't show up? Amar lei v'lo sabar lema'alu le'adar Rabbi Yochanan. You don't hold that the way Rabbi Yochanan said, אסור לו לאדם שיקדים תפילתו לתפילת הציבור. It's incongruous, it's inappropriate for a person to start davening individually before the public have their own prayer. Imagine the public is about to start davening 7 minutes, 10 minutes, but you have your own business, so you start davening individually and you don't wait for everybody else. So it's not right. אמר לי, לאו יתמר לה, אמר רבי אבא, was not stated regarding to this ruling that Rabbi Abba said, בציבור shanu. They told that only with regard to one who is with the congregation, so that's different, right? That's the Rabbeinu Yonah said that basically if you daven in the public communal prayer, it has a different value. So Rabbeinu Yonah hold that that's the whole idea. בציבור shanu, you should daven with them. So if you daven in individual, it's still accepted, but it's not the same category. ולית הלכתה לא כרבונה ולא כרבי יהושע בן לוי. The halacha is not follow both of them. כרבונה רק כדאמרן. כרבונה we just explain. כרבי יהושע בן לוי, אמר רבי יהושע בן לוי, כיוון שהגיע הזמן לתפילת המנחה, רבי יהושע בן לוי hold if the time of מנחה passed, אסור לאדם שיקטום כלום קודם שתתפלל תפילת המנחה. A person should not taste any food before the mincha time. So רבי יהודה בן לוי, if you see the Tosefta, he said, ויתל רבי יהושע מפסיקים ואפילו מן אכילה ולא היא. So he said that רבי יהושע בן לוי forbids any type of food before mincha. Mishnah. רבי יונה חנונה בן הקנאי מתפלל בכנסתו לבית המדרש וביציאתו תפילה קצרה. There are some versions that say that part of the Zohar or all the Zohar, it's all kind of variation that Rabbi Nechunya ben Akanai involved. Others say that early books of Kabbalah like Sefer Yetzirah, Sefer Atmuna, Sefer Abahir, it's all kind of variation. Chalot Rabba, Chalot Zuta, it's all kind of variation. Who is the author? Some attribute to Rabbi Yochanan ben Akanai, which is the 2nd, 3rd century. It's not clear, but anyway, he was a giant mystic, Kabbalistic, giant scholar, etc. And he formulated a special prayer when he entered and he left the Beit HaMidrash. Soon you see what type of prayer. אמרו לו, מה מקום התפילה הזו? What is the nature of this extra prayer? אמר להם, בכנסתי אני מתפלל שלא ירד ועלה על ידי. When I enter the shul, when I enter the study, I pray that I should not come to mistakes. Because sometimes you, especially if you're a teacher, you can bring a misleading information. So it's Rashi asks, מה מקום הטבעי? Please read my book, ברק כלומר ברש"י, I elaborate what Rashi bother here. What type of prayer you make here. It's a long explanation. But in short, so in the entrance he is afraid what's the outcome, so he makes his extra prayer. But when he left, ביציאתי, when I exit the shul, the Beit HaMidrash, אני נותן הודעה לחכי, I thank God for my portion. So soon we bring the text itself. תנו רבונן, the rabbis taught us. בכניסתו מה אומר? When he entered the shul, what he said? יהי רצון לפניך השם אלוקי שלא ירד ואל תקלה על ידי. I pray to Hashem, and that's what basically we said before. Every time we study Torah or study Talmud, we pray to Hashem that we should not make a mistake, we should not stumble in misleading information, etc. ולא ייכשל בדבר הלכה, and I will not stumble in any matter of הלכה. That's very important to say before we study, before especially if we teach. ולא אומר על טמא טהור ולא על טהור טמא. I should, God forbid, will not say something that it's impure, pure, and pure, impure. We always tremble before we deliver any talk, especially as a rabbi. I can attest to that in a few decades, that we always tremble because we are human and we are mortal, and in Judaism all, including Moshe Rabbeinu, can make mistakes. And since we are people and we make mistakes, we always trembling, maybe we make the mistake. So you ask a special help, special siyata d'ishmaya, to help you to make sure that you say the right thing. ולא ייכשלו חבריי בדבר הלכה ואשמח בהם. That my colleagues will not stumble in a matter of halacha, and ואשמח בהם, that I have the joy, not just simchas Torah, to study Torah, but I should be happy that we rule and study halacha properly. ביציאתו מה אומר? After you finish studying, you exit. מודה אני לפניך, you're thanking Hashem, an extra thank you. השם אלוקי ששמת חלקים יושבי את המדרש ולא שמת חלקים יושבי קרנות. That you put me as one of people who study Beit Midrash. That's, by the way, part of the Hadran when we finish Masechet. That Rashi explained here that you put me as part of the Yoshvei Beit HaMidrash, people who study Beit Midrash, but not Yoshvei Kachanim, Amei Haaretz Shoskim Midvar Sicha. Those people who sit in a seat corner and they do nothing. They all the times they involve with unimportant vanities. שאני משכים והם משכים, I wake up and they wake up. אני משכים לדברי תורה והם משכים לדברים בטלים. I wake up for the study of Torah. Baruch Hashem, here we study little after 6. So sometime I'm lucky, I can go and swim 5 in the morning. But not every day I can do that. I can do that only if I spend a couple of hours the night before to prepare the class. But if not, then I need to come 1 hour early to prepare the class. Right? But basically, we wake up and they rise up. We wake up, not just me, but all of the students, לדברי Torah, to study word of Torah. והם משקיעים את דברים בטלים. What they wake up in the morning, what they see, they watch the news, they watch the games. And I have nothing bad to say about baseball or any other games, but let's face it, it's idle walks, right? Or the news and all of that. Everybody is chochem to tell you what's the future hold. אני עמל והם עמלים, אני עמל ומקבל שכר והם עמלים והם מקבלים שכר. I have a labor and they have a labor. I have a labor and get rewarded regardless, and they not. Which means, what rabbis explain to us, it's through explanation. The common explanation is this: in the business world, you have the outcome only by the result. Okay, I was for a couple of years a interim CEO of a food corporation. So when we instructed marketing people, that's the way you deal. You give them sometimes a basic salary, but their main income is by the sales, which means they can put an arduous effort. If they don't make the sale, they don't get the cut. They get very minimum basic salary. In the study Torah world, it's different. Just by the labor, you put the time to study Torah. Even you sit in the class and your understanding is so little. You come to shul, you hardly daven, or you sit in the class and you're spacing out. You have no clue, or very little, what the teacher, what the rabbi, whatever said. We strongly believe that you get the reward by just attending. That's the Chafetz Chaim teaching, that it's so important to understand that just by attending you get the reward. אני רץ והם רצים, אני רץ וחיי עולם הבא והם רצים לבי שחת. We run and they run. we are on to the world to come, which we believe the afterlife. Afterlife can be to see the nachas from our future generation. Afterlife can mean reward, which we call the world to come. And what they do in their life, they go to distractions, which means that it's what they do. I said it. It's break my heart sometimes to go and visit people in a citizen's home, and versus to go to Torah scholar. I have several of my teachers. Take for example Rabbi Yashiv. At age 102, he still answers halachic questions. Sharp mind. Take Rav Shach. At the age of 101 or so, he answers halachic questions. You have elderly people with the sharpest mind. You go to people in the regular world. You go to senior home, and you see people just turn 80 or whatever. The family, throw them away. They can be a general, can be a CEO, whatever it is, and they take the money or they take whatever it is. They dump them in the nursing home, or a senior citizen home, or an assistant living, and that's the end. It's like a trash society. They're trashing whatever the elderly. It's terrible. But anyway, that's the difference when somebody engaged in study Torah for the sake of study Torah. Tanu Rabbanan כשחלה רבי אליעזר נכנסו תלמידיו לבקרו. When Rabbi Eliezer was ill, his students came and to visit him. אמרו לו למדנו רבנו למדנו אורחות חיים. He was not well, so teach us the proper way of life. ונזכה בהם לחיי עולם הבא, and hopefully we reward the world to come. אמר להם, היזהרו בכבוד חבריהם. First of all, be very cautious. The honor of your colleagues, on your חברים. Be careful not to hurt your fellow. ומינו בניכם מן ההיגיון. And restrain your children from recitation. What does that mean, recitation? So Rashi said, בפני ההיגיון, he explained, לא תרגילום במקרא יותר מדי משום דמשך. לשון אחר משיחת הילדים. Not accustomed to spend too much time study scripture because they're drawn and neglect to study of the Mishnah and the Talmud and oral Torah. So that's one way. There are other ways that they should not involve with just vanity, but the way that the Meiri said and the way that others said, it's that you have to be careful when they involve with study to have the proper structure of study, not to go astray, because people, unfortunately, without going to details, whoever understand, people can take the holy text of the Torah and twist it in such a way that can be destructive. So in other words, you have to be supervised. Who are teaching your children what they are exactly learning and how they learn. Make sure that they indulge, they attach to a Talmidei Chacham, to a Torah scholar. כשאתם מתפללים, in the time that you daven and you pray, דעו לפני מי אתם עומדים. Know before you whom you stand. That's what we said in the bima at the top of the Aseret Sedibros. You see this big sign that Rashi said in the כדי שתפללו ביראה ובחמלה. In order for you to daven properly, you should always have that remembrance, that before whom you daven. ובשביל כך, and because of all of that, you, because of what the Mishnah said, Torah, Avodah, Gmilos Chasodim, the Torah study and serving Hashem and the loving kindness. So you do everything with kindness. So hopefully you will be תזכו לך לעולם הבא. You marry the world to come. Beautiful. וכשחלה רבי יוחנן בן זכאי, רבי יוחנן בן זכאי בן return here, נכנסו תלמידיו לבקרו. His students came and visit him. כיוון שראה אותם התחיל לבכות. When he saw his student, he started crying. אמרו לתלמידיו, נר ישראל, light of Israel, like the name of the yeshiva here, right? Amidah Yemini is like the right pillar. It's that's the way that King Solomon used it. Rashi said, שני עמודים יעמיד שלמה באולם, שם ימני יכין ושם השמאלי בועז. Amidah Yemini is like what the King Solomon put in the temple. Mighty hammer, פטיש החזק. It's like an allegorical description of strength. מפני מה אתה בוכה? Why are you crying? אמר להם, אילו לפני מלך בשר ודם היו מלכים אותי, if they bring me soon before a human king, flesh and blood, שהיום כאן ומחר בקבר, today is here, tomorrow is in the grave, שאם כועס עליי הם כעסו כעס עולם. If he's angry at me, it's not forever, it's just short. ואם אוסרני איסורו איסור עולם, if put me in a prison, it's not forever. Right? ואם ממיתני אל מיתתו מילת עולם, and if he kills me, it's not forever. We believe in the eternity of the soul. ואני יכול לפייסו בדברים, I can talk and appease him with words, ולשחדו בממון, I can bribe him with money. אף על פי כן הייתי בוכה. Even though you go before the king, you weep, you cry. ועכשיו, and now, שמוליכים אותי לפני מלך מלכי מלכים קדוש ברוך הוא, now they put me before Hashem, before the king of kings, שהוא חי וקיים לעולם ולמאות עמים, as we said, that בכל מאמינים, we said that we believe that God is forever, endure forever, and past, present, future. שאם כעסו עליי כעס עולם, ואם עושני איסור עולם, ואם תיתני מליטו מילת עולם, if he's do all of that, is permanent. He can do it forever. ואיני יכול לפרשו בדברים, I cannot bribe him, I cannot appease him with word, נור שחדו ממון ולא עוד, אלא שיש לפני שני דרכים. And furthermore, I have before me only two paths. אחת של גן עדן ואחת של גיהינום. It's only either גן עדן or גיהינום. There's no in between. ואיני יודע באיזה דומה הולכים אותי, ולא אבכה, and I have no clue what direction that they're going to send me, so I should not cry because I don't know what's going to happen to me. Look how a great man like him will still have a tremendous frightened, and we are now at the month of Elul, before the day of judgment and day of thought. In the yeshiva world, in my time, a few days ago, a few decades ago, when it's come to the Rosh Hashanah and Kippur, they're all trembling. The Bochrim used to study day and night with fear. How we're going to pass the day of judgment, the court's day. What type of evidence we're going to bring before the Almighty at that time. Look at him before he is about to die, what he feels. אמרו לו, רבנו ברכנו. So they said to him, our Rebbe, please give him a bracha, a blessing. אמר להם, he blessed them a beautiful blessing, and he said, יהי רצון שתהא מורא שמיים עליכם כמורא בשר בדם. I bless you that you have a fear of heaven the same way as your fear of human. In a sense, usually people are afraid of flesh and blood. Okay, they're afraid to get a ticket. They're afraid that they get caught. You know, אמרו לו תלמידיו, עד כאן? That's the should fear God not exceeded in mortal man. אמר להם, ולוואי, I wish that the equivalent of fear of men. It's avoid a lot of sin. תדעו, you should know, כשאדם עובר עבירה, or when a person commit a sin, like in secret, in private, אומר שלא יראני אדם, he says that no one sees me, so I can do all of that stuff, right? Rashi explained, it's even he feel that God sees, he still feel that nobody sees me. So בסתר מורא בריות ויודע שהכל הוא גלוי לקדוש ברוך הוא ואינו מניחו כך. So you know that God knows everything. בשעת פטירתו אמר להם בו, he is about to pass, he said to him, פנו כלים מפני הטומאה, remove all the utensils because of the tumah, because he's passing, and since the dead body, it's in part tumah, everything under the same roof. So he told them that prepare because I'm about to die. He has like just tremendous ability to know that what's coming. והכינו כיסא לחזקיהו מלך יהודה שבא, and prepare a seat for Chizkiyahu king of Judah to come to escort me. So Chizkiyahu, it's a lot of variation. Either you say that he was he was descendants of Chizkiyahu, that's what Rav Sadia Gaon said, or what we said by the Ritva, he said that he joined him in Gan Eden. It's again mystical interpretation, how come they chose him, but in short, he was like preparing for him to be together. Just halacha before we finished, 1 second we mentioned here halacha, because every day we mention just a little halacha because it's important. Number one, in conclusion, when we have a musaf and mincha, just remember we always go first and foremost in mincha, and then we complete the musaf. Another one is the Orach Chaim Tzadik, Orach Chaim 90, that said that אסור להקדים תפילתו, המתפלל בציבור, one will daven in public, he should not preceding his personal prayer to the tzibur prayer. Regarding to musaf, so the Reish Pevav 286, the Taz hold, and the same Bach and Magen Avraham, they said that להלכה נפסק כי מותר לאכול קודם מוסף פירות. That by force of circumstance someone wants to eat a fruit or something before musaf, he can do it, אלא שסעודה אסורה, but full meal is forbidden. ויש אומרים שאסורה מן הדין, the Taz hold that is forbidden from the leaf, ויש אומרים מטעם מנהג בלבד, the Bach and Magen Avraham hold that is only minhag. But basically the proper is that if a person needs to do it, he first needs to do a kiddush, and then he can do it. But basically it's only in the urgent need, other one not. And the last halacha is Reish Lamed Bet 232, טעימה קודם מנחה, מותר לאכול קודם מנחה, we can eat before mincha, but it's, you don't do a big seuda that it's delayed the davening of mincha. The Mishnah here at the end of the 28 cite a dispute in regards to obligation to recite the Shmoneh Esrei, the Amidah prayer. Amidah prayer has several names. Shmoneh Esrei because originally it was 18 blessings, Shmoneh Esrei is 18, or because of the Amidah that we are standing, or just the word Tfilah. So there is a different opinion about the Shmoneh Esrei. First one is Rabban Gamliel. Rabban Gamliel omer bechol yom vayom mitpalel adam Shmoneh Esrei. Rabban Gamliel hold that the person should say every single day 18 blessing, which is actually, soon you see, it's 19. Rabbi Yoshua omer me'ein Shmoneh Esrei. Rabbi Yoshua hold that short prayer is sufficient because sometimes one is not so erudite and is not so familiar, etc., etc., so you can do an abridged version of the prayer of Shmoneh Esrei. Rabbi Akiva omer im shgura tfilato befiv mitpalel Shmoneh Esrei v'im lav me'ein Shmoneh Esrei. Rabbi Akiva hold if he's fluent with the prayer, he can make full Amidah, but if not, he can should have the abridged version of the prayer of 18 blessing of Shmoneh Esrei. Rabbi Eliezer omer העושה תפילתו קבע אין תפילתו תחנונים. By the way, halacha is basically according to both, to Rabbi Akiva and Tanakama, which means the Rambam said in Hilchot Tefillah, in the second parak, he said that one who stands in prayer and fluent in the prayer is required to recite the entire Amidah. But the halacha is generally ruled in according to his opinion only with the rare circumstances, which, for example, when the time is passing or the traveling, so you can do the first three blessings of the Amidah prayer followed by the Havinenu, which is the short version. You find it in some Sidurim. Rabbi Eliezer omer העושה תפילתו קבע אין תפילתו תחנונים. Rabbi Eliezer said one who make his prayer as a fixed prayer, his prayer is not supplication and is flawed. Later the Gemarah clarified all the halachic implication with that. Rabbi Yoshua omer ההולך במקום סכנה מתפלל תפילה קצרה. Rabbi Yoshua said if a person go in a place that it's danger, he should make a short prayer. ואומר הושע השם את עמך את שארית ישראל. He said, please redeem, Lord, you people Israel. בכל פרשת העיבור יהיו צורכיהם לפניך. At every place that they, in every transition, every time that they are in a crisis, may their needs be before you. ברוך אתה השם שומע תפילה. Make a full blessing of שומע תפילה, who will listen to prayer. היה רוכב על החמור ירד ויתפלל if he is riding a donkey. That was in those days, but the whole idea is if you're driving a car, so you have to stop and pray. It's not, cannot say Amidah while you're driving your car. ואם אינו יכול ירד יחזיר את פניו. If he's unable to dismount, for example in those days with a donkey, so he should turn his face to the direction of the Beit HaMikdash, the temple. ואם אינו יכול להחזיר את פניו יכוון את ליבו כנגד בית קודש הקודשים. So in somehow if he was unable to turn his face, it's sufficient that he focuses his heart in the direction of the Kodesh HaKodeshim, the Holy of Holies in Beit HaMikdash. היה מהלך בספינה או באסדה. If he is traveling in the big boat or in the raft is asda. Those who are sailing know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you have those in the middle of the sea that you can take a little break. יכוון את ליבו כנגד בית קודש הקודשים. Again, the same idea, he should focus his heart opposite of the Holy of Holies. So since the Mishnah deals with the fundamental obligation to recite the Amidah prayer, now the Gemarah seeks to resolve the fundamental problem, which is what is the corresponding to what is this 18 blessing is instituted. Hanei 18 כנגד מי. אמר רבי הלל ברי דרבי שמואל בר נחמני, כנגד 18 אזכרות שאמר דוד באבו להשם נעלים. If you look at the psalm that we said every Friday night, and this is the psalm that 29, we use 18 times Hashem, Avu la Hashem Ne'elim, Avu la Hashem, etc. So that's the reason of the Amidah. Is an equivalent. רב יוסף אמר כנגד 18 אזכרות שבקריאת שמע. Rabbi Yosef said that it's corresponding to the 18 blessings of God's names in the Shema. אמר רבי תנחום, אמר רבי יהושע בן לוי, כנגד 18 חוליות שבשדרה. He said that that's corresponding to 18 part of the spine beneath the ribs. So Rashi here said that Havu Hashem Ne'elim, שהוא רמז לאבות, its implication to our ancestors, forefathers, וגבורות, וקדושת השם. גבורות, which we said in the beginning of the Amidah, and the sanctified name of Hashem, דאמרינן בראש השנה, מנין שאומרים אבות, תלמוד לומר אבו להשם נעלים. So that's the idea. But again, there are many מפרשים on that. We just do not have enough time to go. ואמר רבי תנחום, אמר רבי יהושע בן לוי, המתפלל צריך שיכרע עד שיתפקקו כל חוליות שבשדרה. A person, when he bow down, he should pray until all of his part of the spine protrude. So Rashi said here, שיראו הפקקים הם הקשרים כמו ששנינו בקנים ובגפנים מן הפקק שלמעלה, והוא הקשר שחלל הקנה פקוק וסתום שם. So Rashi hold that it has to be in a sense that all his body is bent into the shape of a bow. By the way, that's the Rambam also said in Hilchot Tefillah 5. So now we established a different indicator to determine when he has bowed sufficiently. אולה אמר עד כדי שיראה איסר כנגד ליבו. Isar was one of the smallest coin. Pruta was worth only an eighth of the Isar, and is typically made of copper. The size of Isar is often used as the measurement in the Talmud. So he said, Ad shira Isar keneged libo, which means that it's a full bow down. Then opposite is hard, on the ground before him. That's Rav Hai Gaon opinion. Rabbi Chanina אמר, כיוון שנענה ראשו שוב אינו צריך. Rabbi Chanina said, no, don't go so far. There is a room for leniency. Once he moved his head forward, he need not bow any further. אמר רבא והוא דמצער נפשי ומחזה כמן דקרא. Rava said, but that applies only if he is exerting himself when doing so, that he appears like one who is bowing. However, if he's if he's able, but he should bow further. Hanei tmanei srig teshasrei haviyan. Until now, the prayer of 18 blessings has been discussed as the axiomatic, right? The Gemarah now wonders all these 18 blessings. It's actually 19. It's because if you look at V'lamalshinim al ti'i tikva, that blessing of a Tova mitiv, and you count the blessing, it's 19. So now we a little bit research that blessing. Amar Rabbi Levi, Birkat haminim biyavne tiknua. The blessing of the heretics, V'lamalshinim al ti'i tikva, which curses those informers, etc., was instituted in Yavne, and in other words, it wasn't originally part of the blessings. Keneged mitiknua. Nevertheless, since the number of blessing corresponds various allusions, now the Gemarah wants to clarify corresponding to what was the 19 blessing instituted. Amar Rabbi Levi ורבי הלל ברי דרבי שמואל בן נחמני כנגד כל הכבוד יראים. He said that the 18 blessings correspond to the 18 mentions of God's name that Amelech David, King David, said in the Psalm. The 18 blessing corresponds to the reference to God in this Psalm, right? Where a name other than that was used, El HaKavod Irim, which means the God of glory thunders. That's the in that Psalm 29. Le Rav Yosef, according to Rav Yosef, what Rav Yosef said, that the 18 blessings correspond to the 18 mentions of God name in Shema. So, Keneged Echad Shebikrat Shema, corresponding to the word Echad of Shema. Because why? Because Echad is expression of the faith of God. לרבי תנחום אמר רבי יהושע בן לוי כנגד חוליה קטנה שבשדרה. Rabbi Tanchum said that in the name of Moshe ben Levi that the 18 blessings correspond to the 18 pieces in the spine, right? Vertebrae, yeah. Right, vertebrae. The additional blessing corresponding to the small one on the very bottom of the spine. So Tanu Rabbanan. Shimon HaPakuli, Pakuli is that's referred to because it's a profession. He was walking the bundle. Pakuli, it's a Greek word like fekolos, bundle of wood. So because of his profession, they call him a Pakuli. Shimon HaPakuli, his deal 18 ברכות לפני רבן גמליאל על הסדר ביבנה, which means he arranged the 18 blessings during the period of the Great Assembly before Rabban Gamliel was the Nasi of the Sanhedrin in order in Yavne, which means the member of the Great Assembly institute the formal of the individual blessings, but each individual recited only those blessings relevant to him. That's what the Talmidei Rabbeinu Yonah said. The whole idea of arrange indicate that one who failed to recite Amidah prayer in order did not fulfill his obligation. That's the idea here. אמר להם רבן גמליאל לחכמים, רבן גמליאל said to the sages, כלום יש אדם שיודע לתקן ברכת המינים? Does any person know how to institute a blessing for all these heretics? Blessing directed against the Sadducees. It was a terrible situation. That was all these Sadducees that the rabbis. So Shmuel HaKatan is a name because he was a tremendous scholar. He used this name because he was humble, who was the most pious man in his generation. Amad Shmuel HaKatan v'tikna. He stood, in a sense, he was the one who was able, and he instituted it. Leshana acheret. Shachecha. So the Gemarah related the next year when Shmuel HaKatan serves prayer leader, he forgot the blessing. והשכיב בה 2 ו3 שעות ולא העלו. So he scrutinized it and attempt to remember the blessing of 2 of the 3 hours, and they did not remove him from serving as prayer leader.